3 months ago, my M4 suspension failed badly, causing me to bend my end links and disconnect my sway bar, which meant the car now handles like a boat. But today, that hopefully all changes for the better. Well, we have been wishing for a winter wonderland, and well, today we got it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another Vlogmas video. Yesterday, believe it or not, the blue M4 was parked here with 0 snow on it. And we ended off wrapping the Camry in Christmas lights pretty late. I didn't park this car inside, and I kind of wish I did because it's been snowing a lot this morning. So today, the plan is we gotta go take this, put this in the garage because this thing does not have snow tires on it, and I'm not taking out in that today. And then once we park this thing, we're gonna take the Jeep over to the shop to install today's Christmas present for the G82. Yes, the G82 is getting another mod, and this one is one that we really need, especially now that the snow is falling, because this mod will increase our handling, which will allow us to have more fun in the snow. You'll see. So with that being said, let's get this thing parked up in the shop. That way, the car that you could win stays toasty warm. That's right. You could win this thing. Schnatterdays.com. There'll be a link down in the description. Pick up a hoodie, t-shirt, sticker, anything on the site will get you entered to win this F82 M4 plus $5,000 cash. And now look, the car that you could win is all tucked away in the shop where I should have put it last night, but we finished wrapping the Camry at like 12 a.m. and it was freezing cold because that car has no windshield, and you can guess my face was frozen. I didn't think it would snow last night, but it did. So she's tucked away, heater's on, she's gonna stay nice and warm. I have snow tires that I'm gonna put on this car. They're not gonna be the wheels that you win the car with. They're gonna be a different set of wheels, just so I can move it around from this shop to the other, but I'm not gonna move this car out in that weather without the proper tires. So once they get here, she'll be able to go from here to the other shop. But honestly, I don't mind just leaving her here. It looks pretty. But enough of this car. Let's go ahead and move on to the special package for the G82 today. It's underneath the tree hidden. It's from Keys Motorsports. Where could it be? Yep, this is it right here. Lucky guess. For Keys Motorsports, we're gonna go ahead and throw that in the Jeep, along with some wheels and tires for the G82. They're not the normal BMW wheels you see. They're actually my old Supra wheels that have snow tires still on them. And those are what we're gonna be rocking on the G82 until my Continental tires get here. We have an old set of snow tires. They're not the greatest, but they're better than what we have. Now right here are the snow tires for the G82 that we're gonna try and use. And right there is the wheel and tire setup for the Austin Yellow F82, my 4N car. I don't know if we're gonna be able to fit 2 sets of wheels and tires in this thing. So I'm gonna start off with the ones that are most important, ones for a G82. And we'll see how far we get. Who would have thought? 2 full sets of wheels and tires. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If you want to buy this car, shoot me a DM. $12,500. The perfect winter going machine. Now the roads have cleared up for the most part. When it gets warm out and people start driving, the snow kind of just disintegrates and goes away and turns into water. But where the snow starts to pile up is in the morning when we intro this video. Now I probably could have been safe driving the giveaway car to the shop, but the giveaway car can't hold 2 full sets of tires and a Christmas present. So it's a good thing we took the Jeep. However, on top of doing the mod to the G82, we have a special someone pulling up to the shop. We are gonna install something on his Lamborghini because I may or may not have been with him when his Lamborghini took a blow by a projectile piece that was on the road. I didn't throw it at him. Someone else may have, and that person may or may not be named Luke, but who knows? We don't know. What I do know is I'm gonna help him fix it. He's got a mod to make his Lamborghini look a whole lot better. Now one of these days we will pick an easy mod. That way we have more time on our hands to add lighting into the new shop. Like, this lighting is good and all, and once you're in it for a few minutes, your eyes adjust and it actually is pretty bright in here, but I think it needs to look a lot better. Those hex lights have been sitting there for about 3-4 weeks now, and I need to suck it up, rent a scissor lift, and throw them up there. That way we can have perfect lighting for you guys. So maybe that's something we do this Friday or next Monday. I'll figure it out. You know what I realized? I still haven't told told you it was in the box yet. That's still one of my favorite features. The two newest cars in the fleet, the Trackhawk and this car, both have remote start. I understand the hype now. You have to own one to understand the hype. I've never had a car with remote start until this year, and well, I'm getting spoiled. As you can see, the box says AST, and if you couldn't tell by all the hints, we have brand new suspension that's actually kind of heavy for the G82, and it's going to completely transform the ride height of this car. As you can see, the way this car sits right now, it doesn't look too low. Now there's two reasons for that. One reason, and the obvious reason, is the fact that we have a front lip but no side skirts. So the front does look good, but it could be better. But the middle part of the car looks a little high up. So we have new side skirts. It's part of the series. I'm not going to say much more. But aside from that, look at the rear. The rear is perfect fitment in my opinion. It's right on the tread. I wouldn't want it to go any lower than where it is right now. But when you look at the front, it does not match the rear. The front is causing the car to almost be squatted, which doesn't look that good. Now, if we look at the F82, fitment on this car is very, very nice. Now, we are running a thicker tire in the back, so the fitment is almost similar to the G82, but look, the car has this raked look, and it's just perfect. You can see the side skirt, how it kind of is slanted down towards the front, barely. Not a lot, barely. That's what we want. And that's what we don't have with the stock suspension, which is where these coilovers come in from Keys Motorsports. And also with these coilovers, we're going to be able to actually run end links on the front sway bar, which means we're going to have a lot more support and better handling with this car, which is what we haven't had for quite some time now. So let's go ahead, open the box. And there's one more really cool thing about these coilovers that I'll show you when we get to it. Okay, now it's time to show you my other favorite part about this stuff, and that is the fact that we can modify the suspension later on down the road if we want to. Right here in the rear, we can take this nut out and actually add a divorced canister so that we can run a setup kind of like this, where it's a three-way suspension. Might be a little bit too technical for some of you guys, but for a lot of you guys that do track stuff, this is very cool because having that extra canister just allows you to adjust rebound and all that kind of stuff. I used to have it was great, but I wanted to go lower, so I went for Schnatter with that car. Anyway, let's go ahead, get the G82 up in the air, take one last look at the fitment right now, because we're gonna absolutely slam this car and then probably raise it, because I feel like slamming it's gonna be too low. We'll see though. It could be perfect on the first try. You never know. Also, shout out Keys. This little thing right here is a game changer. Now this is actually gonna be pretty simple to take out at least because the sway bars are already disconnected. So, let's go ahead, pop the hood, disconnect the top hats from the top, and then we get the front suspension out. Now as you can see, this little plug is actually for the adaptive suspension that we had coated out. So I'm gonna take you back to the past where we actually coated out my adaptive suspension with the fine coating. What's up, it's me from the past. It is currently 2:37 a.m. and I am working with the fine coating to coat out the suspension because the aftermarket coilovers that we're putting on right now don't have the OEM plug to be able to run the adaptive suspension that BMW offers, which means if that is not plugged in, we're gonna have a fault code. So we can't turn off traction control, we can't use M1, M2, and it's just a mess. So we don't wanna have a Christmas tree on the dash, which is why the fine coating is hooked up to the car from the UK, and they're still able to do this. So if you want any coating done for your car, check them out. Once he's all done, we won't have adaptive suspension anymore, but we don't need it because we have fresh coilovers from Keys. Well, he's all done. Now luckily I'm very familiar with the suspension on the G82 because I rebuilt this thing. So taking out the stock struts is not that hard. There's a bolt on the back that holds the bracket that holds all of the wires for the sensors and the brake line. Once that bolt's out, the lower part of the knuckle is now loose, and then all I had to do is go on the top side, take out the 4 bolts, and the whole suspension drops. Now this is what failed on my adjustable springs. This is an aftermarket perch that holds the spring on. And this perch is supposed to sit and stay. What was happening was when the end link was connected and the sway bar was causing pressure each way, eventually the tolerance of the perch against this got loose and was spinning, and that failed. That's why I don't have a sway bar connected. But with the new coilovers, we'll be able to have a sway bar. But we gotta take off this piece and put it on to the new set. Taking it all out of the packaging might be the longest part. Now, a lot of coilover systems do come with their own top hat, but with this system, I did have to swap over the top hat. That way, it actually had somewhere to go once we got in. There you have it. Perfectly set up coilover. What I'm doing now is just putting on the top hat, and then I just reverse my steps from taking out the old strut. That's it. Or go ahead, take a bolt that holds the bottom of the coilover in. We're gonna thread that back through while everything is still in, because if we don't, when we lower this jack down, it could slide out a little bit, and then it won't be sitting on the perch correctly. Good and tight. Well, that took a little bit longer than expected. There were some things I'm not familiar with because this coilover setup just looks a little different than what I'm used to, but got figured out. End link is on, something I haven't been able to say for a very long time. End link's on. This is adjusted. I think this is max low. If we go any lower, the issue is the perch that holds the end link on will actually be hitting this metal bracket. I'm hoping that's how it should look. Might have to watch another video to confirm, but it's in. So let's go ahead, do the exact same thing the other side, then the front suspension will be done, and then it's on the rear. The rear is actually gonna be a lot easier because it's just replacing the factory setup, which is just a spring and that. And then if we look over here, we have Tim's Lamborghini. And I know I said that we were gonna work on it today. I know. But then we looked into what it's gonna take to take his fenders off, and it'll be most efficient on a lift. And I only have one corner out of the 4 done on the G82, which means that we're gonna be here for probably another hour or so. And Tim wants to go skiing tomorrow, and I'm assuming, are you gonna drive this?
Snowboarding.
Okay, snowboarding, my bad, my bad, big difference. Are you gonna take this snowboarding?
No, I don't know. I wasn't planning to do it tomorrow, but maybe soon in the future.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, if you don't take this snowboarding, what are you gonna take?
I'm gonna take my truck.
Oh, that's right, he has a truck and I don't. Long story short, we're not gonna do the fenders on his car from 1016. They are pretty cool, they are very light, they're full carbon, but what we're gonna do instead is finish the G82 and call it a night. Look at this. I don't know why they're 2-piece. I always thought these fenders were 1-piece, but we got full carbon vent right here, and then those are painted carbon. It's gonna look good. We'll probably end up doing it this weekend when I have a little bit more time and do an easier mod, maybe something for this car or the C7, who knows? Today just sadly wasn't in the cards, but nobody knows that his fender got macked by a piece of metal. Like with that tape there, it actually does a good job hiding it. Well, now we have a Lamborghini in the shop, Tim's. It's gonna stay here until we do his fenders, but in the meantime, we gotta finish this car. Off camera, I did finish up the passenger side. Look at that, all beautiful. The length matches the same on the other side. And don't worry, I didn't mess it up like I did with this car. Suspension's how it should be. And then we have the beautiful end links all tightened up, good to go. And now we're on to the back. Now the ASTs are just like OEM, where we have a divorce setup with the shock and the spring. As you can see, I got everything disconnected on both sides as well. And it's honestly not that bad. How most people do it is they take that bolt out and drop the suspension this way. I did it the other way. It's 2 extra bolts, but my bolts are very, very tight and I didn't like messing with those, and I've always done it this way. So I'm gonna do it this way. It's probably the incorrect way. Someone's gonna say I did it wrong, but it works and it's worked every time, and I've never had a bushing go out. Gonna pop this down, pull this out, and then unbolt this and put the new springs in. I think what I'm gonna do though, I'm gonna max it out. I'm gonna see, that could be dangerous. And I could also match the length these springs to the other springs, but the spring rates are probably different, so it's not gonna really matter. Dangerous, because if we get this wrong, we gotta disconnect everything again to adjust them. There's only one way to find out, and that's to guess. Now I would be doing this with a power tool, but I forgot to charge it. Now the rear suspension is pretty simple. There's 2 bolts, the camber bolt and the bolt holding in the strut. And then once the lower control arm drops, there are 3 bolts up top holding on the strut, and then it comes out. Now the suspension also has dampening, which means we can adjust it right here. I have it set to the middle right now. Then we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna actually swap this top hat, just like we did for the fronts. First you gotta get the sensor off, which is something I can confidently say we'll never use again. There we go, easy money. That was honestly much easier than the fronts. Okay, put everything back in. And just like the front, same steps as taking it out, but in reverse. Okay, that's more like it. This piece right here has a seat inside this control arm, and it was a little wide, so I had to put a lot of pressure on this jack, and we got to work. I have a feeling this car's gonna be very, very low. It's just an assumption. All right, good news, this side's done. Bad news, we can't max out the suspension in the back, and here's why. See this perch? It's a little loose right now, not terrible, but a little loose. This is about where my lowering spring sat. But if you go this little spindle up to there, the perch won't sit in the hole that holds this spring to the frame, which then will cause the spring to fall out. And if we ever jack up the car and raise the wheel off the ground, we're gonna always have to pay attention to that. And I don't think that's the correct way to run this car. So I raised up there, we're gonna see what happens. I'm pretty sure the rear is gonna sit pretty low. Curious to see the front though. We just gotta do this one last corner, and then we will be all done. All done, check it out. Everything's torqued. Now I just gotta throw the wheels on, and I forgot to mention, when we had our whole suspension failure fiasco in LA, this sensor got destroyed. None of the pins were broken, just a little bit of the plastic was missing, and it got unplugged. So I plugged it back in, everything looks good. I did put a little bit of electrical tape to compensate for the broken plastic, and then there's a washer now to hold it in place. It ain't going anywhere. Fingers crossed I don't have to replace the sensor anytime soon. Let's put the wheels on. Okay, I lowered the car down. I haven't looked. I'll look with you. Now, they are brand new coilovers, so you might have to move it around a little bit. Let's go ahead and get the front off the jack, and I'm gonna pull it forward, and we're gonna see if it makes a difference. Potentially, for the first time in history, I nailed the fitment on my first try. Look at the front. Remember how I was telling you I want it to be tucking tire, but not like tucking tire? And then look at the rear. Tucking tire, but not too much. It's literally matching, and it has that slight rake to it. We might have actually did it. There's no way I nailed it first try. It's so close where the only way to really adjust it more confidently is to take it out for a spin, drive it, let the suspension settle, and then come back. It's the only way to really tell. But like right now, the car is sitting exactly where I want it. Yes, the G chassis do not go as low as the F chassis. Like, look at the M4 compared to the newer M4. But in the grand scheme of things, that looks perfect to me. The snow did go away on the roads, so we should be safe to take it for a spin. We'll take it for a quick little drive, not go crazy because we don't have snow tires on it yet. Off the rip, I could tell the car is lower just by walking by it. And if you look at the front end shot, Keys Motorsports, you saved me. Holy, how did we guess the fitment perfectly? I don't speak it too soon because it could settle a ton. I've seen suspension settle another ½ inch lower, and I've seen suspension not move an inch after putting it on. And maybe when we come back, we'll test some donuts in the parking lot. It looks pretty fresh. Let's take this thing for a quick little drive, see how she feels. We have no suspension codes, thanks to Define Coating. We do have an airbag fault, and that is because I took out the seat for a thumbnail, and I haven't cleared that code yet, so. I'm guessing it's like beginning creaks. It could also be the sway bar because we haven't used it in a while. There's no way we're stuck. How are we stuck? I'm gonna put it in neutral. Why is it? Theoretically, we are downhill right now. E-brake's not on. Transmission's in neutral. Oh, I think the diff's locking. Oh, we got it. Why is it creaking so much? It's gotta be the sway bar if I'm not using it for over like 2 months. Just stuck in one position. Everything's tight, everything's good. It's all creaking from the front end too. How am I gonna get out of the driveway? I wasn't expecting that to be the issue. We might quite literally have to just go down to the light and back and not close the shop door. Because the minute we stop in that parking lot, it's game over. No donuts in the parking lot, boys, because we just get stuck. That is quite embarrassing. We can't even make it out of the driveway. All right, we're gonna get a running start at this thing. I'm just gonna make sure nothing's rubbing real quick, and then we'll continue. All right, nothing's rubbing. We're gonna send it. This is either gonna turn out really good or really bad. You see, it shouldn't be making that squeaking noise. You know, it could be the tires on the concrete. I might be overthinking it. See, we also have to time it perfectly, that way no cars are coming. Why are they squeaking? Why are you squeaking? Nothing's changed. Oh, there's no way. I have an idea what it could be, but could the tire be hitting the spindle? Oh, what the heck? What size wheel is this? What size tire? 285, 35, 19. Look, digging away at the sidewall and scraping up the rim. How? Explain to me how. I think I know. I think I know what it could be. Did I not put the top hat on correctly? The top hat only goes on one way, I believe at least. Is it rubbing on this one too? Maybe. No, that's just an hypothesis. Wait a minute. I think I know what the problem is. No, these are for rear-wheel drive. Okay, so this is what I thought it could have been, but it's impossible. So the G82 comes in an X drive and a non-X drive. Mine's the non-X drive, which means rear-wheel drive. X drive is where you have a thicker coilover at the base, and we had this issue when I was rebuilding this car with the struts. I got an X drive strut instead of a rear-wheel drive strut. It was too thick. It wouldn't even fit in the knuckle. Initially, I thought just now that problem is this ring right here, and that this sleeve comes out, and you're just supposed to have just the black, and that sleeve is causing us to sit up higher. But now that I think about it, it doesn't make sense, because if that sleeve was as thick as X drive is supposed to be, it wouldn't have even fit in the knuckle. And also, online, the coilovers say that they are 5100s rear-wheel drives. So, what else could it be? Well, I would love to tell you. We didn't have this problem with the stock struts. Maybe the top hat spun the wrong way. But that wouldn't make sense. Even if the top hat spun the wrong way, that means that we just get more camber out of this. Like the whole wheel would also go with the strut. There's no way the wheel and tire fitments that is too aggressive in the front. G80 and G82 should both fit the same. X drive or not, doesn't matter. Wheels, it can't be the wheels. Maybe it's just so late I can't freaking figure it out. I'm racking my brain right now. I must spin the top hat around just for peace of mind. If that doesn't freaking work, I'm going home. Call Keys in the morning. I think I know what's going on. The wheels I have are too spicy. At least that's what I'm 95% sure of. We'll call Keys in the morning to confirm. but this is what I'm thinking of as of right now. There's somebody on the forums saying rubbing on coilover purchase. What's happening is, since this coilover is thinner and it has a spring going from the top all the way to the bottom, I've never had this issue before. That's why I'm so baffled right now. Since there's a spring going from top to bottom, the offsets and wheel thickness that I chose only really work for stock perch application. With a stock perch and aftermarket lowering spring, you got the spring and it sits higher than the coilover. Coilover's skinnier spring and it goes all the way down to like here, where we're sitting way up here. And I know this for a fact, I don't have to test it by putting it on, because when this spun all the way around, this was digging into my tire, which means that this is at tire height, which means this is above it. Since my wheels are a certain offset and a certain width, they won't hit this. They'll come close, but they won't hit this. But once I go to a coilover setup like these, it hits, because this whole perch is now located lower. I hope that makes sense. I'm trying to show a lot of you guys this, especially people that don't really work on cars that much, because I know that a lot of you guys that watch the videos are learning just because you've emailed me, asked me for questions and stuff. So I feel like I have to kind of dumb it down sometimes. That way it just makes sense for everybody. I wish some of the guys that made YouTube videos that I watched when I was a kid explained it at a very simpler aspect. That way everybody would understand. But basically, we gotta run a spacer. So we gotta run a little spacer in between the wheel and the hub to push the wheel out to clear. But now the question is, do we run a 5mm spacer, a 7.5, a 2.5? What do we run? Because if we go too far out, the wheel's gonna hit the fender, or it's gonna poke out and it's gonna look like we're driving some sort of weird, crazily spaced out monster truck looking thing. So I'm gonna text Keys, ask him to call in the morning to confirm that my theory is correct. If he says yes, and it's not something stupid, we're gonna have to get some spacers. It's confirmed. I need a spacer to be able to run the aftermarket wheels. I'm gonna start off with a 5mm spacer and see if it works and go from there, but I don't have spacers right now that'll work, so we're gonna run the stock wheels, the winter wheels. This is not necessarily what I wanted to do today. I wanted to be filming the next video, but sometimes things don't work. All right, we're back to the stock wheels. Wheels are torqued. The fitment looks good, but it's not the aftermarket wheels. All right, now let's take it for a drive. See if it rubs, see if the suspension settles. We have some play with it to adjust it later on. It looks pretty good right now. I'll probably decide more once we put the side skirts on, and maybe once we actually get spacers for these wheels, but these are gonna be the winter set anyway, so let's get it turned on and go for a drive. Moment of truth. I don't hear any rubbing. For peace of mind though, we're gonna drive it down the road, come back, jack it up, take a wheel off to confirm. I don't hear it at least. Okay, no weird noises, but no weird noises, and the coilovers feel good. And holy, I am not used to that. The responsiveness with the sway bar connected is way, way better than before. All right, jack her up, check to see if we have any rubbing, and it's either we're good or we're cooked. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the problem. Spacing on the other wheels was just too aggressive. Guess that means spacers, either a 5 or a 10mm. My concern is the front fitment's so aggressive that a 10mm will make it look weird, but a 5mm will look good. But if a 5mm doesn't clear, we kind of got to go with a 10. I don't know though, that's an issue for a future video. For now though, this works, don't have any issues now, and we can enjoy the car, and the fitment is perfect. Well, there you go. The car handles so much better, feels good. We have no codes on the dash from that sensor being unplugged now, which is amazing. And well, it doesn't rub either, at least not anymore. Totally my fault. Do not think that it's Keys' fault for this. it's my fault for choosing wheel specs that were perfect for a stock strut, but when you go aftermarket, you have to apparently pay attention to that, and I didn't. So kind of sucks, but it's okay. We're gonna get it resolved. I'm gonna get some spacers on order, but these were gonna be the winter set of wheels anyway, so this is what the car's gonna be looking like for the next few months anyway, so not a huge deal. Yeah, she looks beautiful. Thank you so much, Keys Motorsports. I'm gonna link them down below. If you want anything from them, whether it's coilovers, performance parts, carbon fiber, you name it, they got you covered, and they got a lot more stuff in the works for this car to make it even more crazy. So stay tuned for future videos. And I just want to say this, even though I'm staying in the middle of the rain, I really appreciate you guys' support. Vlogmas this year has been amazing so far. We're only a few days in, but the responses you guys are saying, how you like it, all the opinions about the videos and all that is so cool, and I really appreciate all of you guys, and I hope that you guys stay until the very end of this series, and I hope I pick up more of you guys that haven't been to the channel yet and are just now joining in, because this is a fun time. This is something that I only do once a year, and I picked it up from other YouTubers when I watched back in the day, and sadly a lot of YouTubers have dropped this. I don't know why, but I think it's fun. Yes, the videos are not as crazy as normal, but they are very fun, and it's called Vlogmas for a reason. These are vlogs, but it's gonna be interesting because we're doing a mod every single day. Now, tomorrow's mod, I have no idea what it is yet because we have a late start, and I hate having these videos end in the dark, but today's a crappy day, so the next video is gonna be mainly in the shop anyways. I guess I'm gonna figure it out. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, and if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and the bell, and I will see you in the next Vlogmas video. Drive safe.